Okay. First of all, I'm Jacqueline, and I'm in Florida too, and I am one of Ashley's coaches. And so we kind of brainstormed together, and we thought, like, because the coach exclusive group gives such an extra incentive for people, they want that extra layer of accountability to feel like, hey, your results are being used in a test group. Like, it gives them a special feeling. And so the way I present it to people, though, too, is like, look, like, you're going to commit to this for 90 days for me. And I put that in my initial post. Like, I'm looking for 15 women who want to lose 5 to 40 pounds in 90 days. If that's like, that was my blanket statement in the beginning. So they already know the expectation that, one, you're with me for 90 days. What that means is that you're going to be a discount coach for 3 months. Do you have to buy Shakeology month 2 and month 3? No. I think you'll want to, and that's what I tell them. Like, I think by month 2, you'll be so ready for another month because you've seen such good results and you feel so good from it, that you'll want to get it. But if you don't want to get it after your first challenge pack purchase, it's a $30, I guess, requirement total for the 90 days at that point after their initial pack.
Okay.
So at that, I take the pressure off there, because I believe that the products speak for themselves. And I believe that if they go all in with me in the first 30 days, that they'll be there month 2 and month 3, that they'll be bringing in people, because this program is so amazing. I did it last Tuesday to Friday. All I did was change my dinners because I didn't watch all the videos, and I lost like 3.5 pounds.
Right.
It like literally just like by the end of the week, I was feeling so good. So I was using that momentum to help just share and give people this information. They're so excited about learning about a program that they don't have to work out, to be honest. Like, that's bringing a whole new wave of momentum for what people are really looking for in that niche. So that's just a little bit maybe to help kind of overcome that mindset or that objection that it's so hard to get a discount coach, because it's really the easiest conversion. If somebody's already buying a challenge pack, they might as well become a discount coach.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. I like the way you presented it. So I wrote down some notes, and I'm going to go forward with that approach.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
That's great. That's great. And I love that you answered like the questions up front. Like, what does this mean? Oh, do you have to buy Shakeology? No, absolutely not. So you're like addressing the elephant in the room, so to speak, like, okay, well, I'm a coach. No, you don't have to do these things. Yes, it means this, and you have these options, but absolutely not. So I love that you just addressed it right up front. Like, okay, I understand that these things can be icky and you have these questions. Let's talk about it. And that way it's not scary. I love that. And I love that you have...
It's proven... Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying, it's proven to be pretty successful when you just come out and address their hesitations, all the things that we all felt before we first signed up, because sometimes they may not say it, and if you don't address it, then they'll still say no, and you don't really know how to get them the right answer to their question. So I find when I just come out guns blazing and answer any objection that I know I had, it leaves them going, okay, I can see myself doing this. I can see myself getting the discount. I can see myself maybe helping out a friend or two, instead of the perception of what being a coach is. Most people feel unqualified. Right. So they say, no, I don't want to be a coach, because they don't feel qualified to be a coach. But when you break down that expectation of what they're going to be and going to be doing, it helps them kind of wrap their mind around it to be able to feel like they could do it.
I love it. And then you have them in your network, and you have them in your group, and then you can start forming them, and then you can say, girl, you're doing what I'm doing. Like, if you just challenge packs. So yes, it can snowball from there. I love that. Love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. Okay. I just saw Kim walk in, so it's happening in just a minute. So any other thoughts on momentum, you guys? I had some coaches yesterday on my mastermind, and this is something that I really, I was excited to hear about, because I feel like Beachbody we definitely are a household name. People know what P90X is. People know what Insanity is, 21 Day Fix. People are familiar with those names. When you say Beachbody, they're like, oh, what? You know, a lot of people don't know what that is. But I had one coach yesterday say that because she was presenting to be in a way that you don't have to work out, this is a nutrition program, they were asking her if she was still with Beachbody. And she was like, well, yeah, of course I am. But that just speaks to our brand evolution. Okay. And I think that's so exciting. So if you can present it in a way that gets those people to question that, dude, that opens up so many conversations for you. It opens up so many pathways. Okay. So I think that doing that is going to help the momentum too. Presenting it in a way that's different, because you're all about health and fitness, right? You're all about working out, but now we're helping people who can't work out, who aren't comfortable working out, who postnatal moms and surgery people, whatever it is, you know, they just can't work out for whatever reason. Let's see. And Renee, I'm just going to read yours unless you want to hop in and tell me what you wrote. I'd love to hear from you.
Making Gunner's lunch over here.
Oh, I love it.
This is one of the ways that I've presented it to someone. I used to just talk about the discount, but we attract what we talk about. And so if we don't talk about the opportunity, then we're just going to attract discount coaches. So I kind of talk about both. So what I'll say is, like, after I've given them all the info on the challenge pack and they're ready to go, I say, okay, you have two options. You can either sign up as a customer or a coach. As a coach, you get a 25% discount. You can save 25% off of your shakes each month if you decide to continue drinking them, off any other products. And I'll usually mention like a couple of my favorites, Energize, duh. And just let them know that either way, like, they have the opportunity to share it with others if they choose to, or just continue to enjoy the discount. It's totally up to them. And then I just tell them to let me know which way they'd like to sign up. And I've had both ways. I've had people say, oh yeah, I'd love to save money, or, oh, I'll just stick with the customer, customer sign up. And so, but at least that way you're putting a little, planting that seed, letting them know that there is an opportunity for them to share. And you could even add in there, and I've done this before, add in there that, if they do, maybe after you talk about like the opportunity to share with others and even get your shakes, the cost of your shakes covered, so that they know that there is that opportunity to get their product paid for, and then just kind of go from there. But I've had a lot of success with that, and a lot of success with them signing up as, coaches. And most of my working coaches, like both of my diamond coaches, have come from being challengers first, and then, go all in. And that's most of my working coaches too. They start as challengers, whether they're a discount coach or a customer, and then they usually upgrade just because like we pour into them so much in our challenge groups, and they want to pay that forward.
I love that. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing. And I love that Ashley says sometimes I call it a preferred customer too. So that helps to take some of the like,
or VIP,
what does that mean?
Say VIP.
Sure. Yeah. And it's like, okay, just because you have this title doesn't mean that like people are going to start coming after you for like medical advice, or, it's okay. You can do whatever you want with it. And I usually tell coaches to present it like, you don't have to do anything with the business, but it's an option. And most people usually do. So you kind of set them up already, right? You're always looking farther down the road and saying, okay, well, this is what's available. This is what's, are you guys frozen? You're all frozen. Why are you frozen? Can you guys hear me? Hello.
Much information about the program because it's just before print.
Okay, so I did it, and then I started it. I took a couple of people out because then people were purchasing, and then we were giving all kinds of information and recipes, and then I was like, wait a minute, if you're not going to purchase, so I took them out.
Sorry guys, my Zoom crashed. That was weird. Kim's on. Hi Kim.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning,
So
everybody.
good to see you guys. Awesome. Okay, you guys, so this is Kim. You got to tell me your new title.
I am over training and field development.
Okay, but you just got a new title. Yeah?
I'm over training and field.
Gotcha. Okay.
No, I'm the vice president over training and field development.
Vice president. Okay. I didn't want to say executive or I didn't
I'm not,
Well, I just
titles.
Wanted to get it right. That's all.
Yeah, you're awesome. Mary,
Love it. Okay, guys. So Kim is here to talk to us about Elite. Whatever.
You're saying that with a question mark in your voice, Mary.
Yes, I am.
All right. So you want me to just go? Are we good?
Just go. Yes.
All right.
Like it's gold.
Just go. All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for jumping on. I'm grateful for the chance to talk to you guys today. It's funny. Right now, my current job, I don't get to talk to coaches as much as I used to, and I miss it a lot. It's one of my favorite things to do. Is to be able to work with the field, to be able to work with coaches. So usually I'm just stuck here in my cave and doing things behind my computer. So when I was asked if I would jump on here, I was very, very excited and honored to be able to be here with you guys. And so from what I understand, this is an elite push group. And so what I want to do is I was thinking about it the other day about what some of the things that I could share with you. One of oh, thanks, Renee. And you still came to the call even though you heard me at Portland Super Saturday. So good. All right, that speaks. One of the things that I was thinking about here is I know that at this point in the year, you're probably have a lot of training, which comes down to the X's and O's, the blocking and the tackling. Guys, look, elite really, if you're pushing for elite or trying to shoot for elite or trying to create yourself an elite team, one of the things it's going to teach you is the importance of consistency, right? And sticking with it and kind of keeping your head down and trying to build that momentum from launch to launch. We've had a couple really good launches this year, from A-Day Obsession to the beach bars. Now with To Be Mindset, we're just ready to start ramping up for our next launch, which is Lift 4, getting your minds and everything prepared so that you can start talking about it about the middle of next month and getting customers ready to go for next month. Lots of things coming your way. Then there's Summit. Then after Summit, we got some cool announcements at Summit that will kind of carry you through to the fall. And then into the beginning of next year. Before you know it, the end of the year is here. And you're kind of looking around and you're going, oh my gosh, you know what happened? And it's really a great time to be a coach with Team Beachbody. A lot of really cool things are happening right now. If you look at the indicators that we look at to kind of determine the health of the business overall, everything is looking really, really good. And it's starting to show and manifest itself. And that comes as a result of our ability to execute, okay? And so as I was thinking about that today, I was like, okay, look, I know you guys will end up talking about leveraging the product launches. I know you'll end up talking about getting your teams and duplicating and teaching that. I know you probably talk about a lot of those things. So I was like, well, what can I add to a call that maybe you wouldn't get, that I could bring that would be unique and valuable? And so where I landed was to maybe give you some perspective with some instruction, if that can make sense. Some perspective with some instruction. Perspective in that for my whole life, until I was about 20 or 18 years old, I was on your side of the computer screen. My dad grew up in my dad would always do direct selling businesses. I've sat where you guys have sat before. And then for the last 18, 19 years, I've kind of been on this side of the computer screen, on the corporate side, if you will. And so I've had the chance to have a lot of perspective, or to see a lot of things. Okay. And so I want to bring some of that perspective to you right now. And hopefully give you some takeaways with some action items that you can just kind of dovetail into what you're doing right now. I don't want to do anything right now. I don't want to ask you to do anything that you're not, that would disrupt what you're already doing, unless you need to be disrupted, if that makes sense, unless you need to be disrupted. Okay. And so one of the on a high level, when we talk about shooting for a big goal like elite, or big things that take a sustained, concerted amount of effort, that does not happen without a few things taking place. And one of the first things I always tell people when I work with coaches, when I used to work with them all the time, is I'd say the first step to success, or to being successful in this model, is taking ownership of the choices that you make. It's taking ownership of the choices that are presented to you. And that might sound kind of silly to you, but if you think about what that means, taking full ownership of those choices really is kind of that gateway to being able to exert control, or to the extent you can, over your business. Taking ownership of those things is a very proactive, it creates a proactive mindset. Taking ownership of your choices really kind of takes you out of that space that so many are, that find themselves in, which is they find themselves being reactive, and they find themselves finding excuses and throwing their hands up in the air, and they makes you be solution oriented. So what I want to do is I'm going to go through real quick these 5 principles that I say. These, when I would teach coaches, I would say these are the 5 principles to owning your life. All right, it's a kind of a big, huge title because I didn't know what else to call it. But what it really is as I've gone through and as I've looked at coaches and worked with them, I found that these 5 principles really give them a way to kind of focus in and kind of, in some cases, just check themselves, and other cases give them a starting point to be able to do exactly what I'm talking about right now. So I'm going to break it down to 5 principles. Each one of those principles, I'm going to have like a little simple homework assignment. It's not going to be complicated. The purpose of the homework assignment is just to help you take the call from just like, oh, wow, that was some interesting information, or I was bored out of my mind, or whatever you say at the end of this call, and then actually then go turn it into something, all right? And so hopefully you can do that. I'm going to ask you to do that within the group itself, and then tag me if you guys have any questions or concerns or things like that. So let's just jump into this. Enough prenup, okay? All right. The first principle in learning how to just that ownership mindset is to learn how to live purposefully, okay? Now let me explain what I mean by that. When I say learn how to live purposefully, what I mean is you're living on purpose, or you wake up every day and you've disciplined yourself, or you've focused yourself on you to know a direction that you're going for, okay? To know the things that you really want. And I would say some long-term things, that kind of that North Star, if you will, and then some shorter-term things, 30, 60, 90 days. The reason why that's so important is this, okay? Living on purpose, or living purposefully is really, really important for a couple reasons. First, people only do things consistently that matter to them, okay? That right there, if you want to know one of the core things of leadership when you're leading your teams, remember that statement. People will only do things consistently that matter to them. Every single day. This morning, tens of millions of people woke up and went to jobs they absolutely hate. They do that because they don't want to. They need to be able to pay the rent. They love their families. They want to put food on the table. There's a lot of other things, and that's why they do those things consistently, right? But people only do things consistently that matter to them, all right? And so developing that mindset of knowing why I'm doing what I'm doing, that's that purposefully part, right? Knowing that, we call it a why sometimes, but I don't want to. Sometimes when I say that, I think people kind of diminishes the value is, but it's literally like I wake up and I know why I'm doing what I'm doing. I know why you're coaching. You know what that is, and developing that skill set, or developing that habit, sets you apart from people. It's very uncommon. Most people wake up every single day and they just kind of, it's almost like they throw their hands up in the air and they go, okay, world, what are you going to throw at me today? And they just react to whatever happens. They let life happen to them instead of them happening to life, instead of them imposing themselves on their world. And so we want to be of the latter. We want to be imposing ourselves on the world. The first thing is by having that purpose, living purposefully, all right? Developing these long-term things, whether it's yourself as a coach, it's your business, right now maybe Elite as a long-term goal, these type of pieces, they require, like I mentioned, that discipline, and there will be some sacrifices that will be involved, that will be required of that. And I'm not talking huge catastrophic sacrifices, but there will be some sacrifices that you're going to have to be willing to make, and to be able to achieve that. And that's why that purpose is so important, because sacrifice, let me say it this way, in my mind, sacrifice can have a negative connotation to it, but sacrifice really is just giving up something good for something better. I want you to think about it that way. Yeah, maybe I'm having to give up a little bit of this that I like to do. It's a thing like that, but I'm giving up for something better, right? And sacrifice is only an empty thing. And sacrifice is only a negative thing when there's no purpose attached to it. right? It's if there's no purpose attached to sacrifice, then yeah, it should be a negative thing. But when sacrifice has a purpose attached to it, it's a very a noble thing, a very enabling thing for you, okay? Because it's just giving up something good of something better. And so as you go through this process, as you're going through ALEA, as you're looking at your goals, you're thinking, okay, here's my long-term goals. I'm living on purpose. I know why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm living purposefully. I'm setting my goals. I'm pushing. I'm going towards those. Inevitably, in this process, again, back to the reason why purpose is so important, but you're going to get pushback. You're going to face obstacles, right? And the funny thing is you'll see a lot of people that will kind of crumble at these things. Chances are you have coaches on your team that they get started, they're all gung-ho, and then the first no or the first obstacle they get into, they kind of crumble a little bit. That's an example of someone who's not in the habit of living purposefully, that doesn't understand this yet. And the thing that you can help them understand is really what commitment looks like in this. A commitment is very much attached to a purpose. You cannot have a commitment without a purpose. And you don't know if your commitment is really a commitment and if your purpose is really a purpose until it's been pushed on, until it's been tried. And sometimes until it's been tried over and over and over again. Because there's a refinement and a strengthening of your character and of of who you are in that process of having that commitment and having that purpose pushed on over and over and over again. And you just keep hitting back and hitting back and hitting back on it. And it's that refining process that qualifies you for the big things that you want in your life, okay? The things of greatest value in my life have never been handed to me. They're not given. They're earned. They're won. And it's typically through that process that they're earned and that they're won. So what's the homework assignment from this? In this first section, learning to make sure you're living purposefully. I want you to make sure right now that you've got a purpose that motivates you right now, okay? Something that is meaningful to you, okay? And I want you to share with the team what that is. On a high level, you don't have to go too, if it's very personal, don't go too deep, but just kind of share that. What is that purpose, okay? That why. And then living purposefully then is that a goal that kind of is attached to it, and why elite or whatever this next goal is, why that is motivating to you, okay? So share that with the team. That's the first assignment, okay, from the first principle. Now the second principle is to learn something that I believe is a very, very, one of the key things that erodes, if you will, someone's ability to take ownership of their choices in their life, all right? And that's how they confront these obstacles that I talked about. It's really, really easy to, captain your life ship when the waters are smooth, right? It gets difficult when the waters get choppy. And typically when you're pushing yourself to try to reach big goals or to try to really exert your influence on your life, those waters can feel choppy at times. The question then is, how do you approach those? That's what the second principle is about. The second principle to learning how to own your life is to attack obstacles with belief and not fear. I want you to think about that for just a second here. How you approach the obstacles that you face, the challenges that you face as you're pushing for elite, will have a significant determination on the outcome and on your growth as a coach. Do I approach these from a standpoint of belief in myself, confidence in what I'm trying to do, or fear, focusing on what might happen, fear that I might be embarrassed, fear, what is dictating the decisions that I'm making, okay? When I'm facing these obstacles, what's the root source of my choices? Is it belief or is it fear? You have to be really conscious of this. I see so many coaches get tripped up in this because they think it's in their mind and it doesn't make a difference how it comes out, right? No, it does make a difference because, and I'll illustrate it this way, all right? So right now I have the chance to coach my son's Little League baseball team, all right? And he's 12 years old. And I use this analogy a lot to kind of illustrate this point. One of the things about baseball, I know that as a coach, my job is to obviously teach him the skills and everything with baseball, but it's also to teach him the mindset part of baseball. Because like any sport, a lot of it starts with how you think, right? And so one of the areas that you can see this crystal clear, and that fits with this example, I'll tie it up in just a second, is when it comes to hitting, okay? So whenever I'm at practice, practice is kind of a low pressure, we're out there, we're working, getting fun, but it's not a game, no one's keeping score or anything like that. And so during practice, whenever it comes time to do our batting practice, our hitting practice, I'll take my hat or a water bottle or something, and I'll throw it out in the middle of center field. And I'll tell all the kids, okay, if you can hit it past my hat, then you'll get a candy bar, those little mini candy bars. Don't judge me. It's very motivating for the kids, and it's just a little one, okay? But I would call it the candy bar club. And I say, if you can hit it past my hat, one hit past my hat, then you can get in the candy bar club, and at the end of practice, you'll be able to go over to my bag and choose a candy bar. Well, what do you think happens? Well, they're up there, and I can promise you right now, you can see it in their eyes. When they're sitting there, they're looking at me to pitch that ball to them. They are just coming at it, and they're swinging as hard as they can. They're focusing on trying to hit that ball as far as they can. In other words, they're doing what hitters are supposed to do, concentrating on the ball, swinging hard to try to make really good contact and hit the ball as far as possible, okay? At least at that age, that's what they're supposed to be doing. And as a result, whenever they're doing that, they're focusing on what they want to have happen. They're coming at that every pitch from a place of belief, focusing on what they want to have happen, focusing on the outcome that they want to have happen, coming at it with confidence, coming out with aggressiveness. Their mindset is what I call a hitter's mindset. I am focused on that outcome. But then the game happens. In the game, for a lot of these kids, they struggle to maintain that same mindset. All of a sudden, there's people that are watching. We're keeping score. All of a sudden, it feels like they put these pressures on themselves to try to not make mistakes and not make errors. And what you'll see a lot of these kids do is their mindset switches. Instead of standing in there, focusing on what they want from a place of belief, hitting that ball, swinging hard, and just going after it, their mindset switches, and they start focusing on things from a place of fear. And you can see that in what they're telling themselves. I don't want to strike out. I don't want to swing at a ball. I don't want to make a mistake. And that's what's the dominant thought in their mind is when they're standing up in the plate. And as a result, they tend to hit worse in games than they do in practice. And a lot of people will chalk that up to, oh, well, it's, game situation. I know what it is, but I also know, because I played baseball a long time in my life, it comes down to that approach, that mindset right there. Because they're coming at that pitch from a place of fear, focusing on what they don't want to have happen, their choices are weaker. Their choices are not aligned to the outcomes that they want, and they don't execute as well as they could. Okay? And so what does that have to do with you? Well, do you have a hitter's mindset for your business? Are you focusing on the things that you want? Are you focusing on attacking obstacles or even successes, right, from a place of belief? All right? You get a coach falls out of qualification, a coach quits, something like that. Does your mindset immediately go to, oh my gosh, I suck at coaching, I'm never going to be able to do this, oh my gosh, fear, coming at it from a place of fear, or, oh, you know what, that's their choice, that's okay, I'll be able to find I'll circle back to them later, and I just kind of keep going. Belief, focusing on what I want, continuing to be relentlessly committed to that outcome, okay? Sometimes the reason why people do this is they feel like reacting from that place of fear is safe. It's conservative, right? It feels like it gives them a counterfeit feeling of security because I'm playing it safe and I'm being realistic. And I hear all these terms, but really it's not playing it safe. It's playing it soft. And you don't, if you're going to own your life, you don't want to play it soft. You don't want to give up your power of choice to those situations. Whenever you come at something from a place of fear, you are in essence giving up your power of choice. You're saying, you know what, look, I really have no chance to be able to do this. It's not on me. I'm sorry. And then you walk away. Well, how can you ever expect to be able to exert control over your life if that's going to be what your mindset is? Okay. So anyway, I know I'm belaboring the point here, but I want you to remember this quote here. This is from the book, The Obstacle is the Way. Actually, it's right here. Okay. Great book I read last year. And he said this, when you believe in the obstacle more than the goal, which will inevitably triumph? When you believe in the obstacle more than the goal, which will inevitably triumph? Because that hitter's mindset over time is how you leverage the compound effect of your choices to push you in the direction that you want to go, all right? So here's the homework for this one. I want you to look at maybe some current obstacles you're facing. I want you to do a self-analysis. I want you to start by saying, okay, here's a couple obstacles or headwinds maybe I'm facing right now. And then I want to analyze how you're approaching those. Am I coming at them from a place of fear? Am I playing to win? Okay. Am I focusing on the things that I want? Or am I coming at them from Am I coming at them from a place of belief, right? Focusing on the things that I want, playing to win in essence? Or am I coming at it from a place of fear, playing defensive, being reactive, focusing on what I don't want, playing not to lose? All right. And then align your choices. I promise these aren't all going to be this long, you guys, okay? All right, so point number 3 now. Principle number 3 to owning your life is one of my favorites, and honestly one of the more impactful ones that I've helped coaches with. It's called controlling the controllable. It's a phrase that I think I read for the first time in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I've seen it from time to time in different places, and it's kind of one of my mantras, if you will, for life. When it comes to my life, I want to make sure that I'm always controlling the things that I can control, because there's a lot of things in my life, and there's a lot of things in your business and in your life that you can't control. And it's very, very frustrating, because it feels like big goals like elite and rank and things for your business, so much that feels like it's out of your control. And you know what? It is, all right? But there's also a lot of things that are in your control. And the funny thing is, I've seen, is when you focus on the things that are in your control and doing those the best you can, it tends to exert influence on the things that you can't control, such that they tend to break your way more times than not, okay? So when we talk about controlling the controllable, the first thing that I want to do is I want to make sure that I'm controlling my mind, okay? I've talked about it from belief and fear. This is that same, I'm going to continue that same idea, but I want then to pivot now to add clarity to that by saying controlling the controllable first starts controlling the things that are on my mind. I want you to think about it in two terms, okay? First, Covey said in his book, 7 Habits, I'm pointing because it's over here. That's why I keep pointing over here. That's right there. That everything is created twice, right? Before anything was created in real life, right, it was created in someone's mind first. Well, your business right now, your future business only exists in one place. It's in your mind, right? And so you have the ability to either kill it or keep it alive right now. So before it can be created in reality, it's got to be nurtured in your mind first. So I want you to make sure that you are staying true to that you are keeping that pure and that clear, okay? Think about it, and it's a choice for you, right? It's a choice to be able to choose that. There will be, again, sunshine and shadow every single day. Do I want to focus on the sunshine in my life or the shadow? Choose to focus on the sunshine. Choose to focus on those positive things. Keep that alive, okay? So discipline your mind. I just talked about that a little bit, but that's the first one. The second one then is one I want to mention, spend a little bit more time on real quick, and that's the controlling the controllable when it comes to disciplining our actions, okay? I'm going to ask you right now, if you were to look at your goal, okay, and look at your daily activities, those represent really probably the controllable activities for your business, all right? There's a couple things that happen when it comes to doing control the controllable that I want to encourage you. The first one, okay, is I want you to, when you look at your goals and you look at your daily actions right now, I want you to make sure that you see how those things connect. How the daily actions that I'm doing connect me to the goals that I want. That connection has to be there, all right? So don't just do it because someone told you to. That's better than not doing it, I guess, but really discipline yourself to connect those actions, those pieces, okay? So that's the first thing, is make sure that those actions are connected to that purpose, to that goal. The second thing is, first and foremost, to make sure that you do, when you do those things, you do those things first in your day. All right, now this is all about controlling the controllable. You see a lot of coaches, especially in social media and stuff, they'll kind of get on their phone, they're flipping through Facebook, all of a sudden hours have gone by. They feel like they've been working their business, but they haven't really been working their business. They've been doing other stuff, right? And so the discipline to control the controllable is, in regards to actions, is obviously then first connecting the actions to our purpose, but the second thing is making sure I do those things first. So when I've allocated time for my business, the first things that I do are those controllable actions that I've listed out. I do those things first. They get the best of me. They get me at the very, very beginning of my day when I'm the strongest, okay? And because I know that those actions are aligning to the outcomes that I want, there's purpose behind those. There should be purpose behind those. I don't want them to feel just like rote things that I'm doing. Keep those purposes connected there so those actions are endowed with that purpose, and then you'll see the traction. I promise you, when you do those things first, have that discipline to do those things first, you will have time for all the other uncontrollable stuff that you want to do, the drama that's created on your team, the little bit over here, the little bit of this, you'll still have time for that, but do those things first, okay? So third point, control the controllable. Principle number 4, this one, when I talk to coaches about this, there's usually one of two camps that people fall into. This is either the part when as I'm mentoring and working with them where they start to break down a little bit, Or for some people, it's just like, yeah, whatever, no big deal. So I don't know where you're going to be in this, but I'm just going to talk to you in general, and hopefully, if this is a sensitive subject for someone, that I don't overstep here. And for those of you that don't feel impacted by it, well, then just bear with me. We'll be on to principle 5 in just a second here. But principle number 4 is, as we're going through this, I want you to think about this roadmap that I'm taking you on here. The first principle of this idea of owning your life is learning to live on purpose, live purposefully. I know my why. I'm living goal-oriented, directionally controlled life. That's the first one. Then the second one is, as I'm going through this and I'm facing headwinds, which is going to happen as I'm pushing myself, how do I approach those obstacles? Do I come at them from a place of belief or a place of fear? What am I choosing to do? Do I choose to focus on the things that I want, fix that I don't want? Am I playing to win, right? As I'm hitting those obstacles, right, how do I overcome those obstacles? Well, we really primarily focus overcoming obstacles and continuing to build momentum by controlling the controllable, what I just talked about, right? Controlling what I'm allowing my mind to focus on, making sure that I'm keeping in my mind the things that I want to create in reality and not the opposite, okay? Because that does impact, but there's a whole training on this, but it does impact the decisions and the choices I make and how I carry myself. That discipline and control, the control of my mind, and then my actions, where I'm looking at my actions and I know that they're not just mindless things I check off a list every day, but I know how they're connected to the direction that I want to go. I know that they're aligned to that direction, and I know that I have the discipline that those things, I do those things first when I'm my freshest and my strongest, because those controllable actions are really how I exert myself on the direction that I'm trying to go in my life to reach those goals, to live purposefully, all right? That takes us to point number 4. As I'm doing that, you're going to screw up. Principle number 4 is to be patient with your imperfections. And this might sound kind of weird to some of you, but as you're going through this, as you're pushing for a leap, this year-long goal, these big, long stretch goals that push you and require consistency and persistence and perseverance, you have to have the discipline to be able to be patient with your imperfections. You have to be able to understand and see them from what they are. You're going to mess up. There's going to be times when you're going to set goals for stuff and it's not going to pan out like you want. And all I can say is welcome to the club. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It doesn't mean you're incompetent. It doesn't mean you're never going to be successful in your life. It doesn't mean any of that stuff. Sometimes you can get in a dark place and tell yourself, right? One of the things I'll go back to my son. My son Joshua, that I coach, he's 12. And one of the things that's a real area of opportunity for him, okay, is exactly what I'm talking about right here. Joshua is a perfectionist. Joshua is one of those kids that will do 100 things right, one thing wrong, and that one thing he does wrong just eats at him. And he just can't. He doesn't give himself any grace to be learning. He doesn't understand that thing, and he can be very, very hard on himself, which is hard for me as his dad to see that. So the other day we were talking about something that had happened, and I'm trying to explain this to him. I'm trying to help him understand, buddy, like, this is part of life. It's okay. You got to fall down 6, get up 7, all those analogies I was trying to pull out. And he was just not having it. He was just like, no, I'm not good at this. I'm not going to try it anymore. I don't want to do it anymore. And I was kind of holding his feet to the fire, saying, no, but that's not how we do this. And so finally I just asked him this question. I had this little moment of inspiration, if you want. I said, Josh, what's the difference between failing and failure? Because he had used the comment that he's a failure. I said, what's the difference between failing and failure? And he was kind of quiet for a second. And he didn't know. And I said, well, and I want you to remember this, Joshua. Failing is part of learning. If you're going to be learning and growing and developing yourself, you're going to be failing along the way, because failing is a process, a part of learning, growing, and getting better. It's challenging yourself to do new things, to push yourself in new areas, to hold yourself accountable to a higher standard of execution. All these words to him, he's only 12, but you get the idea, right? It's doing that, and then when you fail, it's just picking yourself back up again and keeping going. Failure, on the other hand, Joshua, is quitting. You get to choose. Joshua, are you failing or is it a failure? There's a difference. I want you to think about that, because too many of you, okay, I'm speaking specifically to the ones who struggle in this area, will give everyone around you all the grace that they need to be learning, to be failing and picking themselves up, but you never extend yourself that same consideration. And you don't think it matters because it usually happens here in your mind, but you also, if you're honest with yourself, know that self-abuse, that negative self-talk, that is eroding the confidence that you have to own your life. If every single failure becomes a referendum on your ability to actually steer your life's ship, then why would you continue to act in such a way that you do that? That's why most people end up, as they get older and older, just kind of throwing their hands up and going like, okay, whatever happens, I'll just react to whatever goes in the day. But you can't be that. You got to fight against that. The great thing is with your coaching business, with this framework, you have a platform to do that. You have a platform where you can practice that principle and it will apply itself to other areas of your life. I know we're not talking about that, but it will apply. So be patient with your imperfections. Do not indulge in that self-destructive, self-sabotaging, negative self-talk, okay? Approaching those obstacles from a place of belief, yes, absolutely. And then as I make imperfections, I don't shift that to fear. I don't shift that. I have patience with that. I understand there's a difference between failing and failure, okay? So the homework for this one right now is I want you to share, or write just for yourself. I don't care if you share them or not. I want you to write down 10 things about yourself that you're proud of, okay? Make 3 or 4 of them related to your coaching business somehow, somewhere. And in that, I also want you to then say, so 10 things that I'm proud of myself for, and then 3 things about your coaching business where you say, I'm going to stop comparing myself, or I'm going to give myself some grace to be learning these things right now. And the funny thing is, that might seem like a silly little exercise, but what you will do psychologically is be giving yourself permission to be in the process that we're talking about right here. And some of you need that. Okay, 5th principle. As I'm going through all of this and that the whole, I guess, the disciplines I'm talking about, and I'm being patient with my imperfections now, there's something that happens that leaders learn very quickly, is that that I have to, my responsibility, part of the thing about owning my life, owning my business, this whole thing we're talking about right here, is I have to be, I have to own the learnings that I gain, okay? The 5th principle, the title of it is to increase belief and act with greater confidence. Meaning, as I'm going through and I'm learning these lessons and I'm being patient with my imperfections and all this, the things that I've talked about, as I get better, I have to own the fact that now I'm better. I can't slide back into a lower level of expectations of myself and a lower standard for myself because it's more comfortable. I can't go back there. You'll see this all the time with your challengers. Yo-yo dieting is a great example of this for a lot of people. I'll speak for me specifically. I've struggled with being within a healthy weight range most of my adult life, right? And typically it took a while, but it was a few years back I kind of recognized that I was in this cadence, this like predictable pattern. I would get to the point where I knew I needed to lose weight. I mean, it was bad. It was, none of my clothes were fitting anymore. I'd see friends who hadn't seen me in a while. They'd ask me if I was okay. My wife would make comments about mixing in the vegetable every now and then, little things like that. And I'm like, all right, time to do it. And so I would start the process. And I got to the point where I knew this is exactly how it would go. I would buckle down. I would get my nutrition in line. I would start moving. And I knew that probably for the first 3 weeks, no one outside of me would notice anything. I'd still be that, overweight guy. But I knew at about 3 weeks, if I was disciplined, I would start to have enough physical transformations on the outside that at that point, people would start to notice. And I'd start to get little comments. Oh, Kim, are you losing weight? Oh, Kim, you're looking really good. And that was very encouraging to me, and that would keep me going. So like for another month or 2, I would still get that random things like, oh my gosh, Kim, you're looking good. Oh, look where you're at. And all of a sudden, my clothes are fitting. I'm feeling better. All these things are happening. Oh, this is great. I would go, and then all of a sudden it would go to, 6 months into that. And all of a sudden, that journey that I went through and all that positive feedback and all those wins that I'd given myself were just kind of baked into the day-to-day. I didn't have the same friends come, hey, you're looking a lot skinnier than you were 6 months ago. They already told me that I was looking better and I was losing weight. That's not something you keep telling somebody all the time, I guess. And so absent all of those wins, I would start to lose momentum and I would start to lose my discipline. And all of a sudden, I would start eating pizza in, I guess, pairs of 3 slices, 6 slices, 9 slices, 12 slices, whatever. Never, only pairs of 3. And what would end up happening is I would start sliding. And as I started to slide a little bit, I knew that I would just go back down to this date right here, and then I knew I could do that all over again. And I would have all those same wins. I'd feel really good about myself. I could reset, and I could go through that. And after doing that a lot of times, I finally realized that I was doing exactly what I'm telling you not to do right now, which I wasn't owning the learnings. I wasn't owning the things that I was letting myself get stuck in this cycle of going back and forth, running back to something more comfortable so I could learn to have that same experience of feeling like I'm winning, resetting, and going back and forth. The funny thing is I see this all the time with coaches. They'll push themselves, they'll exert themselves, they'll grow, they'll learn these lessons, and then, man, they get tired. Oh, I can't do it. And then they'll slide back into a place where they feel like it's a little bit more comfortable for them. I'm not talking about in terms of the energy output. I'm talking about owning the lessons that life has taught you and not letting yourself slide back into a more passive approach to life, okay? So one of the things that I'm going to ask you to do, the homework for this one, is I want you to look then, each of you, at one key life lesson, okay? Maybe from your business or just life lesson in general, that you have learned and that you fought to learn, that you can apply to your business right now, that you can hold yourself accountable to that learning right now, at least one, all right? And then focus yourself on, here are the things that I'm going to do to continue myself to grow on this growth pattern, you guys. So I don't know if I know that was a lot. Sorry, I kind of ramble sometimes, and like I told Mary, I haven't been talking to coaches for a while, so I had a lot of energy that was coming out of me. I hope this made sense, you guys. It is, when we talk about this idea of owning your life and these principles, if you take just a second and try to digest all of that stuff I just threw, and maybe I'll post it on the page so if you didn't write them all down, or if you don't want to watch the recording and you can see them. The reason why I gave that homework is because in my experience, these things can make sense logically, but the application is really where the difference is made. So if I look at myself and look at your situation, look at those homework assignments and say, look, am I living purposefully? Do I have a meaningful why? Is it present where I can see it? And am I living in goals? Am I controlling the controllable for myself? Am I being patient with my imperfection? And apply it to your situation right now and to the goal that you're chasing right now. What will come out of that are the specific action items tailor-made to your situation, to what you need to take an incremental step forward. Okay? Too many times you'll fall into the trap thinking that there's some secret that nobody's telling you about success in this type of a business. There's not a secret in my experience. It's persistent, purposeful action, okay, over time. And hopefully this will help you get that, those of you that need it. And for those of you that are in a good space, hopefully it'll just help you refine it, all right? So I'm happy to stay on, answer any questions. Mary, or if they don't want to ask questions, I'll just hang out here. We can be uncomfortable in silence for 30 seconds, and then you can tag me on questions in the posts or whatever. So, but thank you guys for the chance to be here with you.
Kim, thank you so much. That was incredible. Thank you. And I know it was kind of confusing earlier today because it's blah. So thank you so much for being patient with me. But do you guys have any questions for Kim? This was incredible. I do want you to repeat what you just said. Persistent, purposeful action. Is that what you said?
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Okay. PPA. I love it. Any questions? You guys can take yourself off mute if you have any questions. I mean, you basically just dropped the mic, Kim.
Well, no, it was a lot. Just so you guys know, that's usually those 5 things I work with coaches over months on. We'll get to a point, so it's a lot more. And I know I dropped a lot on you, but I was like, I think these guys can probably handle it. But if you have any questions about any of that, just tag me. I think I'm in the group, actually. Just tag me, and I'll happily jump on there and answer them. So appreciate your guys' time. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Kim. You guys all have a good day, and then we will see you next week.
Okay, see you guys. Bye.